Any items?
No, there is not.
Thank you very much. Could we have an approval? Councillor Bennett, Councillor Chong, all in favor. Thank you. And next is the adoption of some minutes, the regular open minutes of February 14th. We have a motion, please. Councillor King, Councillor Guadarica, all in favor. Thank you. And we will now move down to a public hearing. And I will call the public hearing to order at 2:01 in the afternoon. And I will read, first of all, the statement of the chair. This public hearing is convened pursuant to section 464 of the Local Government Act, RSBC 2015, to allow the public to make representation to council respecting matters contained in zoning amendment bylaw number 1085.137/2023. Every person present who believes that their interest in property is affected by the proposed bylaw shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard respecting matters contained in the proposed bylaw. None of you will be discouraged or prevented from making your views known. However, it is important that you restrict your remarks to matters contained in the proposed bylaw. If you wish to speak once, it is time for public representation and are attending in person, please proceed to the microphone and commence your remarks by clearly stating your name and address. If you wish to speak and are attending virtually, please virtually raise your hand. If you are unsure how to do this, you can find the information on the town's website. It will be your turn to speak once your name or phone number has been called. Your microphone will be unmuted and you may commence your remarks by clearly stating your name and address. Once you have finished speaking, your microphone will be muted. If they wish, members of council may ask you questions following your presentation. However, the function of council at this public hearing is to listen to you rather than to debate the merits of the proposed bylaw. In accordance with the council procedure bylaw, presentations by members of the public shall be limited to a maximum of 5 minutes each. If a person has additional information that they are unable to provide within that time frame, they shall be given further opportunity to address council after all other interested members of the public have been heard a first time. Please refrain from applause or other expressions of emotion during this public hearing so that we may ensure as impartial a hearing as possible. After this public hearing is adjourned, council members will not speak to the public on this matter until after the matter has been dealt with at a public meeting. After this public hearing has concluded, council may, without further notice, give whatever effect council believes proper to the representations made at this hearing. Mrs. Hilson, would you like to confirm the advertising and posting requirements, please?
Yes. Thank you, Mayor Laporta. Notice of the public hearing was given in accordance with the Local Government Act, the Community Charter, by distributing the notice as follows: publishing in 2 consecutive editions of the Times Chronicle on February 16th and February 23rd, placing the notice on the bulletin boards at the town office and the Planning and Development Services Department on February 15th, posting the notice on the town's website on February 15th, and it was distributed via e-news on February 16th, and notices were mailed out on February 15th and hand delivered within a 60-meter radius on February 15th as well.
Thank you. Would you read the summary of the staff report, please?
Yes, thank you. The purpose of the meeting is to seek public input on the zoning amendment bylaw number 1085/137/2023, which received first and second reading on January 24th. The bylaw the purpose of the proposal is to rezone the property from an R1 single family residential to an R2 single family residential small lot to allow the owner to subdivide and create 1 small residential lot.
Thank you. So the correspondence received, there was an email from Lori Ferreira, 9 Wren Place, opposed to the rezoning of the property, and there was a letter from Jared Law and Kristen Garner, 860697, opposed to the rezoning of 10 Wren, and those are both in the printed matter. So next we will go to the zoning amendment bylaw, and we will ask Ms. Curtis to do that, please.
Thank you, Mayor McCordon. This report is for the rezoning of property located at 10 Ren Place. The applicant is proposing to amend the zoning bylaw in order to split the property into 2 small lots. As mentioned, first and second reading was given on January 24th, 2023. Administration is recommending that zoning bylaw amendment Z 2106 be read for the third time, subject to comments in today's public hearing. The proposed zone of the R2 single family residential small lot would allow for a minimum lot size of 400 meters squared, which can be found in the appendix. The easement is required over the proposed new lot in favor of the existing lot for the property owners to access the existing house and avoid the Bollards lift station located directly in front of the house. The subject property is located within the Meadowlark Plan area and in the Agricultural Land Reserve. The Agricultural Land Commission will require an application for exclusion to be submitted once we've done their reading that comes back. Should the application be accepted. So administration is of the opinion that the site is suitable for a smaller lot size, and the Meadowlark Plan supports intensive residential development, and the subsequent subdivision of the subject property would comply with the OCP's density requirements. A notice of development sign was posted, and the date of the public hearing was added on January 25th. So notification was completed as per the land use bylaw.
Thank you very much. So we will now go to presentations, and I'm wondering if the applicant is present, and would you like to speak?
I'll let everybody else speak first.
Okay, that's not a problem. Then I can ask you at the end if you would like to say anything. So public presentation, is there anyone in the public who would like to speak on this matter right now? Is there anyone online, Mrs. Hilson, that is looking to speak? No, great, thank you. So I will call this for the second time. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak to this application?
The applicant's gonna, he should speak now, because once you ask for it 3 times, then he can't speak it.
All right, is there anything that you would like to say? Is it Mr. Conch?
Yes,
Yes, could you come up to the microphone, please?
absolutely.
And then before I call the third time, thank you. Could you state your name and address for the minutes, please?
Robert Conchi. And only thing, I'm turning the property into a full-time 30 days plus rental, along with the house I'm building. I'm building it for myself until I build my other house north of here a little bit. So, and then that will become a full-time rental as well.
Thank you.
All units will be.
Just a moment then, Councillor King, did you have a question?
Yeah, I did. So if this happens to go forward and gets passed, my area correctly, both houses would be 30-day rentals?
Minimum 30 days.
Okay, so they're not like,
No more short term, no. No.
And you're not gonna live in either one.
Yeah, I'm gonna live in the new lot. I'm gonna build a house there myself. And eventually, when I build another house in Armada, actually, I'll be moving into that and I'll make that available as well.
So it'd be 2 rentals.
3 units, I think, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else? Question? Do I have to start from this? Okay, so I have to start again. I will ask for the first time if there's anyone who wishes to speak to the application. I will ask a second time. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to the application? And I will ask a third time. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to the application? Hearing no one, I will ask for a motion, please, that the public hearing be adjourned. Councillor King, Councillor Rodriguez, all in favor. Thank you very much. And so no information can be received by council on this matter as of now. All right, so the next, are we going to go on to anything else? Yes. Is that Miss Curtis? Are you going to? No? Is there?
Through the chair, I'm not sure, CEO Rising, if you want another comment from the planning department, or because the next item on the agenda is consideration of third reading. But is,
So
did you want?
I'm not sure whether. Could you tell me, Mrs. Hilson, is that correct? So we
Yes.
would go on. Okay. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I do. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just the one question on the picture of the roof, it's 27 feet. Is that higher or lower than original?
I'm sorry, the question is the new roof?
Yeah, it will be changed to accommodate a 27-foot height.
Through the chair, the maximum height of a home in a R1 or R2 is the same 9 meters.
Okay, like I
So
say, it's
it's-
crossed up and changed, so just
Yeah.
curious. That's down the road.
Okay, so are we looking at a zoning amendment, be read a third time? Is there anyone, council, is there anyone who wishes to make that motion? We could, or I'm not sure if we didn't want to, is there, what would happen?
You can, council can wait to, like, if you wanna consider this matter further, you don't have to deal with it today. This can be placed on a future council meeting if that's good.
So that's the other option. I'm just looking at what it says in the, on here. We could either deal with this, reading it a third time allows it to then, it's not confirming it. It's not, no.
No, council have to give adoption to convert the bylaw.
It's up to council. What would you prefer? We don't have to deal with this, or we could go to third reading today.
Let's just go to the motion to move for third reading.
Third reading? Is there a second there?
Can we hear from down from the planning department? They're trying to tell us some.
Would that be appropriate?
No, thank you, Councillor Bennett. Through the chair, I just wanted to mention that should you proceed to third reading, that would be giving us approval to move the application to the Agricultural Land Commission to determine their support for the application. If they were to support the application, we then would come back to council to look for final adoption of the zone amending bylaw.
Good, thank you. So are you seconding that then? Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that we move to third reading at this time. All in favor? Against? Mr. King, you're okay?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. That's passed. We will then move on to water matters. Nope. Where are we? This part is different than what I've got in here. Okay, my page numbers are wrong. We're going to go to the 5-year financial plan, and that would be Mr. Zackel. Could somebody let Mr. Zackel sit at the table? Thank you very much. Go ahead, Mr. Zackel. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor McCordock. So before council is 5-year financial plan amendment by law 20 or 1381.01/2023. And this is for consideration of adoption. At this time, before council considers adoption, we need to give the public the opportunity to speak to the amending bylaw. So at this time, I'd like to pass it back to council.
Thank you. Is there anyone who is present that would like to speak to the budget bylaw? And I will ask a second time if there anyone wishes to speak to the 5-year plan amendment bylaw number 1381101/2023.
We will use that one.
I don't have to do it.
No, it's not a public hearing.
All right, so we do not have anyone wishing to speak to this, so go ahead, Mr. Zackel.
Thank you, Mayor McCordock. So this bylaw received first readings on March 14th. It also was advertised in the Times Chronicle on the 16th and 23rd of February. I'll bring it up to the talk input. There was one letter received as public input, which was attached to this report and to the agenda. And at this time, I would be recommending the council for adoption of the financial plan amendment bylaw.
Go ahead, Councillor
Yeah,
King.
thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I'll pass that off.
All right, is there a seconder? Councillor Chong, seconding that. Any questions, concerns? No, okay. All in favor? Thank you very much. And we will now go to, I'm sorry, but my numbers are on here are different than they are in the book, so I'm just going to go to water matters. Am I correct? That's yeah. Okay, well, that isn't what it says here. So we will. So Water District's 8 and 9 financial accounts. That the reported expenditure from accounts payable for Water District information be received for Water District information be received for information. And for as of February the 28th, 2023, the Water District cash requirements are in the amount of $9,169.20. So Councillor Appleby is moving option 1. Councillor Marrero is seconding that. All in favor? Thank you. Okay. So next we will go to financial services quarterly report. Mr. Zacco. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor McCordo. So before council is the financial report update from October 1st to December 31st, 2022. We had a good year last year with the general fund surplus of $2.1 million, sewer fund surplus of $200,000, and water fund surplus of $5,900. The Sun Bowl Arena didn't fare as well, and then ended up with a $38,300 deficit to that account. At this point in time, it asks for council to receive this for information, but if council's got any questions, I'd be happy to field them.
Thank you. Does anyone go ahead?
Can you say
Councillor Appleby.
$5,900 for the water surplus. Wasn't very much. Thank you.
Are there any? Yes, go ahead.
I
Councillor
just asked on that, tax sale properties, maybe since you've done it, has some of these properties been caught up in the taxes? You see 20 properties in arrears?
Yeah, so we are now to 14 properties that remain in the tax sale position. Finance is continually trying to contact them or have discussions with them to work with those property owners to try to get it cleared up before that happens.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Okay, so do we need to
Just proceed for it.
Increasing.
receive some information? Okay. Councillor Tom. Moving that, second, thank you, Councillor Federica, all in favor. Thank you very much. Okay, next is the development variance permit. And that would be Ms. Curtis, you're going to do that at 2414 Lakeshore Drive.
Thank you, Mayor McCormick. So this report is provided information to council regarding a development variance permit received for 2414 Lakeshore Drive. The applicant is requesting a variance be given for the front yard setback in order to accommodate an attached garage to a new construction. Administration is recommending that the DVP number 2301 be accepted and that council authorize administration to proceed with the notification process, which advises of council's intention to consider issuance of DVP number 2301 at their March 28th, 2023 council meeting. Zoning bylaw number 1085 in 1998 stipulates a front yard setback is of 6 meters from the front lot line. The applicant is asking for a reduction to this front yard setback to 2.4 meters as a result of the lakeshore walkway located alongside the property front. And within the road right of way is meaning that the closest corner for the new construction or new development will be approximately 9 meters from the travel portion of the road. the pedestrian walkway and traffic volume along Lakeshore Drive was taken into consideration when they were designing the house. So they have included a hammerhead driveway configuration in that attachment 5, which will allow vehicles to turn around on the private property before pulling out onto Lakeshore Drive. The proposed development meets the riparian setbacks of 15 to 17.3 meters. That is qualified environmental professional recommended. And is consistent with other riparian developments along the lake.
Thanks.
No, it's through the microphone. It's for them to give them that.
So, Councillor King, do you have a
Thank you, Madam
question?
Mayor. The question you said is kind of like other properties along there. Have we get variances to other properties to move them closer to the road?
We have given some variances to the properties.
I just had a question. I drove down there yesterday to have a good look and while I could see where the property was and how this would fit on there. My concern is coming out from the driveway onto the pathway that is provided by the town on a bit of a corner there. And I'm just wondering about the tree line at the front of the property. It tends to, I would think that a car coming out there would have to pull out a fair distance before they'd be able to see in either direction. And while I absolutely agree that people should not be backing out onto that road on any of the properties, I'm a little concerned about the visibility with all of the trees along there. And I'm wondering if that had been considered. I know people, because it's a busy area, they don't want people looking into the property, but that does concern me a little bit, safety issues. Has that been considered?
So from my conversations with the designer, they have suggested that they'd like to add a gate and a pedestrian gate to the side, so it would be removing some of those trees along the one side, so that they can hopefully see a little bit more and would kind of increase their vision field. So we could definitely discuss with them with their trees and potentially making a better vision correct.
And a gate across there, in other words, that when they wanted to go out by car even, there would be a gate that would have to be open first. Okay, well, that makes, I think, a little bit safer. That was what I was concerned about. Anybody else? Yes, go ahead, Councillor John.
So what is the logic behind the 6 meter setback? Like why is it 6 meters?
Do you want me to speak to that? Thank you. Through the chair, thank you, Mayor McCordock. The 6 meter setback is usually used to accommodate the parking of a vehicle in front of your garage or in front of your home. So that, because we know what people do in most of their garages, unfortunately, they fill them up with stuff instead of their cars. So we always try to accommodate as planners an area for people to park in front of their garage. As you can see in the drawings provided in the report by Ms. Curtis, there is ample room for parking outside of the garage.
Thank you. Yeah, well, that's great.
So it's really the size of the house and the garage and so on that is preventing it from staying at the regulation size. In other words,
And the
it
setback
has to
from the
be a
lake.
2-car garage there. Okay.
It's not a fire and safety issue or anything like that. Okay.
Let's hope it isn't. Okay, so the motion that is before us is that the development variant permit be accepted and that council authorizes administration to proceed with the notification process, which advises of council's intention to issue and consider issuance of a development variant at their March 28th council meeting.
Those are the two separate motions.
I'm sorry, so they have to be done separately. So we will do it the first one first, the development variance permit application be accepted. Is that what you, Councilor John? Councilor King?
I got a question. I seen a picture when you go through it. Are they changing the back side also? They want a variance on the back of the lot also?
No, so through the chair, The back is the setback from the lake that is required from the qualified environmental professional. It's also in our riparian setback, so it's 15 meters. However, the qualified environmental professional requested in wiring of it 17.3. So they have a different setback on the one side.
Thank you.
All right, so we will, it's been moved and seconded that recommendation A, that the development variant permit be accepted, all in favor. Okay, thank you. And now, option B. Thank you, Councilor Federica, you're, okay, and that would be that the, considering that the March 28th council meeting, so 1 month from today. Is there a second? Thank you. Councilor Chong, all in favor. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ms. Curtis. And next we have the Resort Municipality Initiative carried forward. Am I correct? Is that where we're at?
Now, budget change.
Budget change, one more, we're back. Okay, budget change first. Thank you,
Thank you very much.
Mr. Zacco.
So this is a request from the fire department, recommendation that council approve reducing GL 1230 or 12230-005 equipment financing from $224,800 down to $208,800 and increase the GL 12230-004 for equipment maintenance and replacement from $61,000 to $76,000. This was to deal with additional costs related to the rescue truck. The fire department is looking towards trying to do some tool securement and attachment options to it before it arrives, rather than doing it after the fact. We had some savings within the equipment financing account due to the paying out of that debt. So at this point in time, our fire department's requesting a budget change to account for that. So options for council was, one was to approve the budget amendments as discussed. And option two is that council not approve the budget changes requested. And I'll pass it back to the council.
Thank you, and I note that the request to change will be neutral, so there is not any new money that's being. No, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just make a movement.
Moving the recommendation. Thank you. Councilor King is seconding that. All in favor. Thank you very much. That's carried.
Thank you.
Okay, next, Ms. McKay.
Thank you, Mayor Recordoff.
Carried forward.
Pardon me. Thank you, Mayor Recordoff. So before you hear you today, to request that you support the recommendation of administration by directing funds from our resort municipality monies, which were previously allocated to the Astuce Museum mural project to the new Urban Heritage Park, also to be located at the Astuce Museum, just on the side there, sort of to the west. So you'll recall back in September, you supported that $25,000 that's allocated in that specific funding to the mural project, and through the generous donation of one of our business owner operators in town. That mural project's now been complete. And we're now looking to support that new heritage park. So the request is, of course, that council support our recommendation to allow the funds from that heritage stream to be allocated to the new urban heritage park at the museum. And this has been discussed by the representatives at the Resort Municipality Initiative at the province of British Columbia, and they have no issue with us redirecting these funds within the same stream. So thank you, Mayor Barra.
Okay. And so this is $25,000. Yeah.
That is correct.
And I do know that a year ago, Home Hardware arranged for Trees Canada, I believe, to make some donations to that park. So my assumption is that that is also included in this park setting, or do you know anything about that?
That is correct. They are to be included in the park setting. I'd also like to point out that there is a portion of the park that will also remain open to the public, which has a couple of benches, garbage cans, some bicycle parking. So that can be used on a day-to-day basis by the public at the front facing Main Street. And then the rest of the park will be closed off for special events, or at times when the museum is open, and conceivably it could be rented out for art shows or other events like that.
I do know that there's a door at the side of the museum that goes right out into this area, so that's gonna work. Thank you very much. Counselor King.
Yeah, I'll move option one.
The recommended option, okay? And are you second, Jack, Counselor Chong? Okay, all in favor? Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. And on our next is the community signs. And that's parks and green spaces, and that would be Mr. Brownstein.
Thank you, Your Worship. For the staff report in regards to some signage that brought to the committee back in February 14th. The concerns raised by the committee were addressed in the revised drawings, and this is now coming to council's consideration. There are two options before council right now. The council endorses the design look of the park main entry sign, the park information sign, and the park wayfinding marker as presented, or the council will move ahead with its design as presented. Are there any questions of council?
Great, thank you, Counselor Bennett.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to move, we endorse replacing the signage funding, but I think I'd like to see us delay approving the design and look as recommended until staff can give a more detailed cost in regards to cost, signature sign, cement and other designs outcome, rather than just the ones that we've seen in here, because we only have one choice. I think there's some other options there. Can we have till March 2024 to do this? So I think we should approve the funding, so the money's in the budget, but I think we should look at what other options there are. Thank you.
So you're moving option two?
Yeah. With amendment.
So option two says council does not move ahead with the design which proposed, but you're suggesting that we leave it for a certain amount of time because we have until May of 2024 to deal with this. Is that
I'm
correct?
saying that we delay approving the design, and we approve the funding.
It'd be two different issues, isn't it?
So you want to approve the funding, but just not the design at this point? Yeah. Okay, so then we need to change the options then, correct? Number one, so you want a motion to approve the funding, which was for
That's correct.
70,000.
Because we have to approve that this year.
So your worship. Your worship, so the funding has been approved in the budget as part of the plan, so we don't.
We don't have
need
to
a
do
motion
that.
Approve it. But absolutely, if council wants to provide, administration some feedback on what else you'd like to incorporate, we really appreciate that feedback. So definitely council has some time. 70,000 is part of RMI, deadline is March 2024 to spend the funds. So we do have some time, but would appreciate a little bit more direction on what is in what council would like to see.
Absolutely. Councillor King, you had.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess could it be incorporated when you do the charrette for Gyro Park?
Or
Mr.
could we
Kay?
wait until after the charrette and then
Yeah,
deal with it?
and
Is
then
that what
bring
you
it
mean?
back. Can that be incorporated in your?
Through the chair, we can certainly have a conversation at the time with the public about the installation of signs. I'm always a little reluctant to just say in a public meeting like that, hey, what do you want to see for a sign? Because you will see as many different ideas as there are people, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but there are some things that we've already established, the things like the longevity of a sign and certain things like that, the material, the size, the locations that are pretty much, I wouldn't say regulated, but pretty much have to be in certain types of material. So I don't know that we want to wait till through that process about that.
I guess I was looking for a whole bunch of different ideas. I guess I was just looking, I don't know if we've already been presented where a sign would even go.
I guess that was my concern as well, I think, as Councillor King's, that the signs may not. I don't have a problem with the actual design of the signs, that isn't my problem. I would not want to see the signs go up before the actual park and has been planned and done, because we may choose to put the sign in a certain place now and then have to change it. I guess that was my only concern. I don't have a problem with the signs. I think they look great.
So your worship, this is
Yes.
coming to council as a design concept, whether or not council is happy with the look. The location information that will go on the sign will vary as per their installation. So the idea of this is so that we can standardize the look of sign within the community. So if we go put a new sign at Gyro, and after we've done the charrette, the sign would try to mimic this or mimic this. And it would be a choice of location of either council or the committee at the time. It'd be no difference than the canal trail. We would look at putting large signs at each end as you enter the canal trail and informational signs along the way, as well as wayfinding markers within the trail system itself. The idea is the look, is whether or not council's happy with the look.
So the sign would not actually go at the plaza, for instance, until the plaza was redone.
That's
But,
correct, your worship.
well, sorry, I think that's where we got mixed up. I
Well,
do.
we're talking two different things.
Oh, sorry, yeah, but I'm talking one thing, you're talking
Yeah, now
another.
we're
Go
talking
ahead.
specifically, I guess, talking Gyro Park was the first comment. And I go back there, Councillor Bennett talking about option number 2. And we don't move ahead at this time. We'd like to see a couple more options on different designs for specifically Gyro Park as our main focus point.
Okay, through the chair to council, okay, that's
Yeah, it's no
okay,
big deal.
that's not a big deal.
That's right.
I guess the question is before council is whether or not these signs can be placed within locations other than Gyro. So can I put these in at Hanger Walkway? Can I put these in at Cotton Way? Can I put these in at the canal pathway? Can I put these in at the dog park? That kind of stuff. That is the question.
So it would just be the plaza and Gyro that may not go in right away. Oh,
That's
I'm
correct.
sorry, and I'm sorry, I missed out on that one too. Well, I'm okay with that. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm a little confused, so we can leave Gyro Park sign the later and the other signs you put in on this design.
100% council discretion.
I don't have a problem with that, because I still think that Gyro Park is a key place in our community, and you drive down that road to see just a sign like this, the plain Jane cement sign, which might look good at the plaza and other places, fine, but I think we need a signature sign, in my mind. And I think the community should have a say in that. I mean, if that's not what the planning wants, I think we need to give them an option.
To the chair, council, I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, this was in order to start moving forward with signage in other parks. This wasn't generally just for Gyro. I agree. I mean, Gyro is your signature park and probably taking more time to provide a more substantial information or look or feel to that park sign is probably warranted.
Thank you.
Go
Maybe
ahead.
some more conversation about your marker way signs made out of wood with like steel plates on them. Like, I guess they'll be stained or whatever, but with this hot sun, I don't see you getting a lot of years out of that particular type of post.
So through the chair, Councillor King, I would probably end using a recycled product, for instance, Wishbone has basically a composite fiber board that we could do that exact look with. Over the composite fiber board, and we get probably longevity of 20 years out of
So so it's not like wood like this.
So-
So you're kind of changing the design.
I'm not changing
Okay,
the design,
design.
Councillor King, I'm just may change the materials to warrant what we need to make sure we get something longevity.
Go ahead, Councillor Trump.
Thank you. My one comment, could we darken the font with the name since there's a bit more contrast, with the gray on gray? So I'm looking at,
Like silver on a gray.
yeah, the silver on the gray may just,
I think that was mentioned, you mentioned it the last time, but did you not include that in the, in the aesthetics that you were talking?
No, your worship, through the Councillor Chung, I will make sure that that is black and white.
Yeah,
it could just be the 3D rendering when they
I
have the
think so.
lighting that just lit it up. But
So I got one more question.
okay.
This RMI funding of 70,000, so that gives you opportunity to maybe put 3 or 4 signs up.
That is correct, Councillor King.
So, let's back up to it, so are you, so other than 85th Street Plaza and the
Gyro, of course.
Gyro, the 70,000 would probably cover the ones at the other parks and at the trailheads and that type of thing. Is that correct?
That is correct, Your worship. We try to get a big bang for the buck.
Sure. Okay, well, that changes the way I think things, so I'm, go
I'd
ahead.
like to make a motion for option one.
Hang on, do we have a motion on the floor already for option 2?
Yes.
Okay, so, and did Councillor King second that?
Yeah.
All right, so we need to deal with that one first. And what we'll need to do is go with option 2, because that was the motion, that council does not move ahead with designs as proposed. So,
With the amendment. Some letter, I like.
We took out your funding part, Councillor Bennett, as
because it's
of
already.
the discussion,
Second, to approve.
yeah, through the CAO, that they've already been approved in that budget. Unless,
I think we're trying to say that we can go ahead with the design that we choose, but if you go number 2, it cancels everything, where we want to say. We want to go ahead, but we don't want to do the gyro and 85th Street at this time.
So that's different than what
Yeah,
this says.
right, so.
So
And that's
should
different than
we
number one
in
also.
fact go ahead and deal with this and perhaps turn it down or and then get another motion? Is that the way we should do it?
just give me 1 second, I'm gonna try to. So Councillor Bennett and Councillor King, so it'd be Gyro Park and the 85th Street that you were.
Just general partners.
Just Gyro Park, okay.
I'm doing 85th Street.
So Councillor Bennett made the
We
motion.
can't do that.
So yeah, Councillor Bennett made the motion, so you can't amend his motion unless he's in favor of that amendment.
Can I read the motion? Can you read the motion?
That council delay the approval of the design and look of the park main entry sign for Gyro Park as presented in the Community Signs Park and Green Space Report.
So,
Well,
all this other stuff is just a whole bunch of people talking.
I know, it was a little
Simple.
confusing. So are you seconding that?
No.
Yes, no, you're, so he didn't second that, so do we have a seconder for that? We do not. So that the motion does not stand. All right, so could we start again then? Does anybody have, Councillor Chong, you had a motion.
I move option 1.
Option 1. George, let's look at that, because we want to make sure that we've got it all in there. So for particular, look at the park main entry sign. So you're saying the park main entry sign is the way you want it. That's what you're, okay.
And also the park information sign and the park wayfinding marker.
So not just the other 6 places, so leaving out gyro.
No, the location, my understanding is the location is not up for discussion, but the design,
The design.
the concept are going to, I move that we accept the design. The location we can discuss later.
All right. Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Puerto Rico is seconding that. So the design of those, and so does anybody have any more questions? Concerns? Yes,
Yeah. When you say park main entry, where do you visualize the park main entry? Which park are you talking about?
Any one of the parks except Gyro at this point, Councillor King.
Yeah, I mean, not every park in the town. Yeah, I guess.
and trails. All right, are we clear on that now? I'm sorry, that was a little confusing, but I think we're back on track. So the motion is option 1.
So I'm just wondering,
Yeah,
Your
go
worship,
ahead.
so just so we're all clear, we're on the same page. It is every main park entry sign, but should we explicitly state except gyro? Like, I wonder if we should just do that, because if you read this, I think it's every single one. And that's okay. But that would include gyro, wouldn't it?
I'm comfortable with including gyro and then having other signatures, I like sign potentially.
But with the addition of some of the changes to the sign at the bottom on the grade. Is that correct?
Yeah, with the.
Yes, go ahead. Counselor Federica.
With this other point here, the number two, I think is where possibly, I mean, the fact that part of this plan was to have a standardized signage throughout the park system. I do agree that Gyro would probably just deserve something over and above, but it should also be included as part of, you know, every other park signage that we have in place, so there is that consistency that we are trying to strive for here.
Okay, are we ready to call the question? All in favor of the motion? Against?
I'm confused on the motion after Zach said that. Now you're talking something.
Well,
The motion was that council endorse the design and the look of the park main entry sign, park information sign, and the parkway finding marker. As presented in the community signs, parks and green space report to allow for a variety of installations as per the 2020. Oh, sorry. I'm gonna take out that last part. So it's, I'll read it once more. The council endorsed the design and look of the park main entry sign, park information sign, and the park wayfinding marker as presented in the community signs, park and green space report.
I thought there was some law to accept.
The last bit of it has just been, has been removed to allow for a variety of installations. And that's what's been removed. You okay with that, Dr. John?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So. Do we got 3 in favor? Did anyone vote against that?
Yes.
Oh, great. So those 2 against. Well, that's why we need these discussions, because it doesn't always fit. So that was carried. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Brownstein, and sorry about the confusion on that. All right. Next is the water access point. At South Gyro.
Thank you, Your Worship. This project's been on the budget since 2018. This is an access point for the water down the south end of Gyro. The bottom end of the stairs coming off of Main Street. The original intent of this was a set of stairs. However, the stairs have morphed into a full ramp to provide full accessibility to the foreshore. The reason why this is coming back to council is that tenders were released and this project came in $41,000 over budget. So council has some options before them. The council will forward the design of the accessibility and age-friendly advisory committee for review and recommendations. And the council provide recommendations to the accessibility and age-friendly advisory committee that funding shortfalls for this project be reallocated from the community budget. Option 2, the council approve the additional funding of $41,500 to complete the water access point. So Gyro Beach has designed to provide full accessible access to the foreshore. The council reduced the scope to a set of stairs, which would reduce the accessibility to the foreshore and would not be supported by the age-friendly assessment and action plan. And the council the water access point and encourage park users to find alternative measures to access the shore. Staff is recommending option 1.
Thank you very much. So this has been on the docket for a few years now, and there were some reasons why we couldn't go through with it a couple of years ago, that there was some concern about the water line going underneath and the bridge and so on. So I certainly agree that the accessibility and age-friendly advisory committee should have a look at this and see what they think about it first. Councillor King, you're on.
I can support number 1, the first sentence, but when you talk about using their money, you still have a shortfall, we used all their money.
That is through the chair of council, that is correct. So there'd still be an opportunity to use RMI funding to compensate for that loss of ability.
So
I don't know it's moved anything yet. He's just recommending number 1. I will move number 2.
that council approved the additional funding of 41.5 to complete the water access point.
I have RMI.
and you don't want to go through the accessibility and age friendly.
Well, no, they could all design and everything to go, it's just it was over budget. So it's all in place to move forward, it's just whether we choose to move forward at what we've been presented. Or make it smaller where we find money to do whichever, so again, number 2 would accomplish what we've been presented.
I'm gonna jump in on this one. I think that the design, which is a little confusing on the picture that is shown, it's a little hard to just quite figure out what's going in where. I think it would be a good idea it's mainly for people who have an accessibility concern getting into the water at that point. Because it's a bit of a jump off, isn't it? So some people, I believe it was a gentleman who was in a wheelchair that was trying to get swimming down there, didn't want to go all the way down to the end. So I do think that it's important that we go to the accessibility committee and ask for their information and to have a look at the design and see whether they would agree with it. So I think that one needs to go first. That's my point of view. Anyone else have anything to say about Councillor Chong?
Thank you. I agree. Do we have any data on how much it would be used, period? This was kind of for my point, so.
It was really one, I believe it was one person who came to council several years ago and said, we would like to be able to go swimming, but it's too far to go all the way down to Gyro Beach. And therefore we'd like to have an access there. So I'm not sure how many people.
Sorry, I'm gonna- we don't have a seconder. So
That's number 2 on the table.
Right, okay, do we have a second for option 2?
I can't second unless I haven't answered my previous question. Which was.
Well, I guess I could try to answer some of it, and the bigger picture of things, to try to be in a second. No,
No, you can still second the motion, it doesn't have to be in support of the motion, but before council continues the meeting, there should be a
okay,
second.
that's fine.
Gotcha.
Good, are you gonna second it?
No.
Councillor Chong? Is there any- Okay, thank you. Councillor Bennett seconding it. Now, go ahead. Your question then, Councillor Chong was,
Now.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah, like what, was there any like data collection, like do we, aside from the one request? Like, do we know if there is a demand or how much it would be used? Was that information discussed by the committee?
Well, I think it has a lot of things that are built in town for accessibility. There's no way to really measure or answer your question. It's just to stay as an accessibility committee and get that branding, leaves opportunity for more funding.
So like,
And
well,
we get-
okay,
go ahead.
was there, so what was the, aside from the one request, what was the logic of? Are we just adding accessibility points all throughout the town because one person asked for it?
Well,
Well,
that's
that's
what
we
I'm trying to
do. We
understand.
do. Oh,
Yeah, we
okay,
do.
accessibility is a big issue.
Okay, yeah.
Mr. Brownstein, am I correct? Was it one person that had requested it for their family? Is that what I recall?
As far as I can recall, your worship, yes, it was one individual. I cannot find any information from the original request. All I have is follow-up information. It was one individual that requested.
So before we okay this, maybe we should check and see from the accessibility committee and see what they think about it and would it be used, and maybe they would have a better idea than we do about how much would be used. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just like Councillor King. Number 2, number 1, we're taking the stairs down to the water so they can get in the water. Number 2, we're only taking them partway down. Why would we want those stairs halfway down when you want the stairs all the way down? I don't quite understand why we want to go number 2 where they don't have full access. That's what I read, I'm not sure.
I see that number 2 means that we are adding the extra money to go all the way down.
That was
Yeah,
your
that should be adding extra money.
Yeah, to
That's
go-
the motion on the floor.
And then number 3 is to reduce the scope of the
Yeah.
second step. I'll make a motion for one.
And then go to.
A motion on the floor is to go with option number 2.
I'll read the motion.
Okay,
So the motion is that council approves the additional funding from the RMI waterfront enhancement of $41,500 to complete the water access point South Gyro project as designed to provide fully accessible access to the North Shore.
okay, so are we ready to vote on that? You can't vote. So we will go with that, all in favor of that motion. Against. Thank you, that does not carry, so now, Councillor Chong, you had a motion.
Yes, and motion for option 1.
That council forward the design of the accessibility and age-friendly advisory committee for review and recommendations. Correct, and the second part goes with it as well.
Correct.
Council provide recommendations to the accessibility and age-friendly committee that funding shortfalls for this project be relocated from the committee's budget. Okay, so that's been moved. Seconded. Councillor Quadrica, any questions?
Yeah.
Councillor King.
Yeah, I can support the idea of sending it to committee. I just can't support the second paragraph of possibly using their money.
May I ask Director Davis to speak on this issue or no?
Sure, and maybe I'll just add a piece.
Yeah.
So one of the things that is occurring right now is accessibility is, is an important issue, and especially with the population getting older and older, it's something that is important, and the community has dedicated a committee and resources to it. One of the things that is occurring is this committee has X amount of dollars, like $30,000-$40,000
Like 34,
that they can. What we're trying to get to do recommendations for council's approval to proceed, right? So we're hoping that committee come up with priorities, and then council can consider the budget process. Yes, we'll take those 3 priorities. What is also happening or has happened in the past, there used to be these kind of one-off things. And this was one of these one-offs that really didn't proceed through that committee. It was, we believe a resident came in that had an issue, absolutely an issue. But we don't know how high the priority is for that committee or the population in general. So that's one thing. So probably is a good thing to funnel this through a committee that is closer to the beat on these issues. The next thing is, this committee that is most closer to the floor on these issues. This piece was budgeted outside. And sometimes we have these other projects that all of a sudden come up that are budgeted outside. And so maybe like a longer term vision is to kind of combine these monies so that this group can prioritize what's the most. There was $50,000 available on new projects, meaning what I'll call retrofit, because new projects are a little bit different because you incorporate some of these things in the brand new structure. But when it's a retrofit, which I would call this, is this the highest priority compared to a ramp at one of our other facilities? I don't know, but I think this committee would probably provide better recommendations than essentially administration. So I think the longer term goal here is to give that committee, kind of free rein, provide recommendations on what's the highest priorities. Maybe there's something that's really, really big, like that's a $300,000 thing, but it is a must. Well, what council could do is find that 300,000, or they could say, you know what, no, we usually dedicate X amount of dollars, we're gonna save up 2 years. It's still kind of your call, but at least this committee is giving you the recommendation from their perspective, what's most important. So kind of repeating myself here, but fire it back to them, let them do the priorities.
I got no, sorry.
Go ahead.
I got no problem sending the committee. I think that's a great idea. I just struggle with the second paragraph, using their money. Now, I don't know if that's set in stone. If we pass number 1, they use their money. The way I interpret, I'd say yes. And you still have a shortfall of $8,000 or $7,000. So if you took that second little paragraph and just send it to committee for the recommendations, that sounds great, great idea.
That is up to council. But
Yeah, well, I
you control the budget, and if you want to put additional funds to certain project, you have the ability to do that.
But it's a plan, we're gonna spend their money in this. area.
Council can change a motion or amend a motion or.
Like I'm trying to take it out now before the fact.
Before we go any further, can I ask Mr. Davis to come up and who's in charge of this committee, the director? Do you have anything that you'd like to add to this?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In 2013, we did an accessibility audit. And that particular part of the beach wasn't in question. And yes, there was one or two people from the community that came forward for this. The committee itself, well, hopefully will be established here pretty quick. And to address some of those needs, since we've had the committee in place, we've actually put 2 Moby mats at our beaches. And if you're not familiar with what a Moby mat is, it's easy access into the sand, into the water. And I think the 2 that we got cost around $15,000. Operational services put those in. And we do have a list. And some of the larger ones that we have and have carried over for this year, the Sank Garden was one of them at Pioneer Walkway. And that other list, and we have probably 15 to 20 items on there. Some of them have to do with our sidewalk condition, just general stuff. But again, that was never listed, and we have people in a wheelchair. We have somebody who's got a guide going, and we have a lot of people who have worked or done, volunteer work with people with disabilities. And it is part of our H training program to do that and report on it and keep track of it. So just wanted to put that in there.
Thank you. Can I ask where, I know that one of the Moby mats is right at Gyro, is the other one there as well, or is it at another beach?
There's another beach at Cottonwood.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you. That's what I thought. Okay, thank you very much. So back to option, who moved option 1?
It was
Counselor Chung.
Counselor Chung and seconded by Counselor Mary.
Okay, so in light of what you've just heard, are you still okay with going ahead with option 1?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So because it's been moved and seconded, we will vote on this particular part first. Okay, all in favor of option 1? Okay, against. Thank you. Okay, that carries. Thank you very much. So we will see what that happens after the accessibility and age friendly advisory committee as well. Have a look at it. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mr. Brownstein. Okay, you're my counselor today. Next is the general local government elections candidate financial disclosure. Mrs. Hilton.
Thank you, Mayor McCord. Before you is the staff report. This is a follow-up to the staff report that council received on February 14th. Administration received a letter from Elections BC that states that council has to receive this report in an open meeting. So administration's recommendation is that the general local government elections candidate financial disclosure statement report for failure to disclose from the Director of Corporate Services be received for information.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions or go ahead?
I just leave option 1.
Thank you. And Dr. Federica seconding that, all in favor. Thank you. Okay, next is the Mr. Delson, that's you, the East Side Boundary Expansion Report.
Yes,
Thank
thank you, Mayor McCord. Before you is the staff report for report 3 for the East Side Boundary Expansion for 4305 Highway 3 and 3719 62nd Avenue. The staff's recommendation is that the town of Vesuvius has obtained the approval of the electors to petition the Minister of Municipal Affairs to extend the boundaries of the town of Osoyoos as it appeared in the BC Gazette under the issue of January 26, 2023, and in the local newspaper Times Chronicle under the issues of the January 19th, 2023, and the January 26th, 2023 editions. And that all relevant legislative requirements pertaining to a municipal boundary extension in the Local Government Act and the Community Charter have been completed. And that the parcels approved for inclusion within the town of Osoyoos are as follows: 4305 Highway 3 East and 3719 62nd Avenue.
Thank you. So it was, the options today are that the town has obtained the approval. I'd like to point out on here in the report that there was no one.
There was no,
Objective.
yeah, there
No
was no,
objection.
like to response forms received, okay, the town.
So,
No, we just-
it's option, option one, are there different parts to it or can it all?
No,
go
it's
together?
all one motion.
All one motion, good, we're not reading it.
I'll move up and
Option one, thank you. Councillor Pottery, do you seconding that?
yes.
Thank you. Anybody have any concerns? Okay, all in favor? Thank you very much, everybody. And so next is the general net payroll and Sunball financial accounts. And as of February 28, 2023, general cash requirements, $363,414.46. Sunball cash requirements of $17,556.98. And net payroll accounts of $101,125.74. So the options are to receive these or to request additional information. That's all. Yes. Thank you. Option one is third secondary. Thank you, Councillor Bennett. All in favor. Thank you, everyone. And next is bylaws. That would be the authority delegation bylaw. Is that
There's no report,
Right.
this bylaw came to council for the first three readings on February 14th, so it's just before council for approval,
all right?
for adoption.
For adoption. So could we have a motion, please, that this bylaw be adopted? Councillor King, Councillor Bennett, all in favor. Thank you very much. And we will now go on to the committee reports, and we have two reports here from the airport committee. Am I correct? We have the January the 23rd and January the 3rd. And I believe that they are just to be received for information. Is there someone who would like to, or is there someone who would like to speak to the two reports before we receive them? No? Okay, could we have a motion to receive them, please? Thank you, Councillor Pottery and Councillor King, all in favor. Thank you. Okay, we will now go to the CAO report. Mr. Risling?
Thank you, Your Worship. It's time to just bring up the speed on the previous 2 weeks and maybe a couple insights to see what's happening in the future. So over the past couple weeks, I was able to attend the UDCM forum in Penticton. It was a great opportunity. It's the first time I was really able to meet CEOs from across the province. So it was tiring but enjoyable and good learning experience. So that was great. Some of the things that are happening is we had we talked about the February 12th State Library at the Arena, and again we want to thank the Rotary, Silly's Credit Union for making this project a success, and again remind people if they have any additional skates, I'm sure they'd still accept and that's down at the rink. There was a family day, February 20th, and that occurred. There was a bit of a technical difficulty with regards to the movie, unfortunately, but still I think it was a pretty good day all in all. There has been a request for proposal going out for the Gyro Beach concession, so that's out or is going to be out within the day. We've been cleaning up the town. There's a few abandoned vehicles, that type of thing, that the bylaw officers are tagging and dealing with. Within financial services, we have the financial auditors here this week, so we have to kick them out of this room and put them someplace else, but this has been their home for the last couple of days. As far as business licenses, I always like to mention this, we have some new businesses, ICBL Rocks and Blocks, Pacific Custom Builders, and Crossland Construction. So those are 3 new businesses in the community. We have one business that changed their name to Hide My Ride. Within planning, obviously, we have probably our highlight thing, our feature project is the zoning for short-term rentals. There is a section this evening from 5 to 8 over at Sonora. March 7th is a virtual session, and March 11th is also at the Sonora. We encourage people to come out and participate in those sessions. We encourage the online registration. If you can't attend, there's the online survey. Again, this is I think a really important topic, or 3 topics that's going to potentially change the way the town functions. So really important for people to get out and provide their feedback. It is change of season, which we talked about last go around. So operations have been pretty busy, starting to today, getting the parks ready, putting out mulch, that type of thing. Not today, obviously. We're also fortunate to have our new utility superintendent started with us on February 21st. That's Kelly McDonald. So that's a positive addition to the team. And I think that wraps up the report. So if there's any questions, I'll answer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Risling, and could we please have a motion to receive the CAO report? Thank you, Councillor Poderica, Councillor King, all in favor. Thank you. So we will go to council reports. Councillor King, you're first.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess the main thing was meeting yesterday with Councillor Chung and Councillor Bennett and Director Davis to review the community grants. So we kind of fine-tune them hopefully, and I'm sure Mr. Davis will be bringing them forward hopefully at the next council meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Poderica.
My report for February 22nd, I believe. Attended school superintendent's work meeting and presented on the budget. So I have to work.
Good, thank you. Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As Councillor King said, the committee grant meeting was kind of interesting. And then yesterday, I met with Marty Rashawn, who's an elder at the Colville Indian Band and from Washington State regarding the international bike trails. And introducing our new CEO, Rod Riesling. And basically they're working pretty fast because I can't leave today, got a request from the MOT in Washington State requesting a copy of our Trails of the Okanaugans. And if you try to get hold of the MOT in British Columbia, often it's probably a 3-month wait, right? So it's pretty impressive the action they're already taking. That's my report.
Good, thank you. So you'll keep us updated on what's happening there. Yeah, great, thank you. Councillor Chung.
Echoing the same report as Councillor King and Councillor Bennett. It was very constructive. And then me and Councillor Poderica will be attending the LGLA conference later on this week. So we're really excited for just learning and bringing more skill sets to the table.
Great, thank you very much. So we're happy that you and Councillor Poderica and Councillor Chung are going to that, because we've been a couple of times and it's a really good learning experience, and you get to meet all the people up and down the valley too. So that's a good one. So last week I spent 2 days in Penticton at a strategic planning workshop put on by Gordon McIntosh, who did the same planning session here. So it was not new to me. So we went through some of the similar exercises that Mr. McIntosh had done with the town of Vesuvius. And interesting that when we came up with the 100 different activities that we thought were important, and we we put them all on the wall, and then we had a chance to have a look at which ones were most important to us. And guess what? A lot of the same ones that were important to the town of Vesuvius are also important to the regional district. So it's an interesting exercise, because when I'm here at the town, I wear the town hat. When I'm at the regional district, I still wear my town hat, but think in a regional manner. So some of the strategic priorities that we ended up with at the RDOS were healthcare, housing, staff housing, affordable, summer agricultural workers housing, flood mitigation, public engagement, social issues, volunteers. That was quite we had quite a conversation about that. Water conservation, meters, wetlands, quality, water quality and riparian area, vacation rentals, sewer and septic systems, and transit. So those were some of the main ones there, which were obviously repeated on our list as well. The other thing I want to point out is that the Vesuvius Lake Water Quality Society is a great local group of volunteers who have been working to monitor and protect Vesuvius Lake for over 25 years, and they're all volunteers. And they're having a burger and beer fundraiser at the Sage Pub on March the 25th. And the tickets, along with proceeds from a live and silent auction, will enable them to continue monitoring and protecting Vesuvius Lake. So I was just asked to mention that at our meeting. You will see there are signs that they have around town, some that say "Love Your Lake," and on some of the water intakes, and they'll have a picture of a fish on. So they do all of those things, plus they do water monitoring out on the lake. So they're a really good group, and there are tickets available on their website, or the president, Jürgen Arnstein, has tickets as well. So please go and support that. And that's all I had for today. So next I will ask for a motion, please, to move in camera pursuant to section 91C of the community charter. Part of the council meeting will be closed to the public if the subject matter being considered relates to labor relations and or other relations. So could I have a motion, please? Thank you, Councillor King, Councillor Chong, all in favor.